Welcome back. Jonathan Pryce is an accomplished actor, to say the least, who, of course, Game of Thrones fans will instantly recognize as the religious leader, the High Sparrow. Now, he's playing a real spiritual leader, and he's doing it in the new Netflix movie, The Two Popes.
So this movie reimagines the 2013 crossroads in the Catholic Church when Pope Benedict XVI resigned suddenly. Pryce plays his eventual successor, Pope Francis.
Why do the presidents of America and Russia and China come to you? Because, unlike them, your authority comes from the fact that you will suffer and die in the job. A martyr to justice and truth. For this, all people come. Forgive me, but...
But?
Christ did not come down from the cross.
God always grants you the right words.
No. A pope must go on forever, be the personification of the crucified Christ. If you do this, you will damage the papacy forever.
Jonathan Pryce joins us now on what is also Pope Francis's 83rd birthday. Jonathan Pryce, welcome. You know, what kind of pressure is this, or does it put a certain kind of pressure to play somebody, who is still among us and is a real live person that we have come to know somewhat?
Yeah, well, there is a lot of pressure, but fortunately, he's a pope who I admire a lot, a great deal of respect for. He's the first pope that I've ever really taken any notice of. I mean, I grew up a Protestant in the Welsh Presbyterian Church, which I left as a teenager. But I found he was the first pope I felt he was talking to me, and not about religion necessarily, but about politics. And he was talking on the environment, the economy, and yes, there was pressure, but I wanted to embody him.
I started watching the film. It is fantastic. I mean, I imagine you've heard that it is being well received by critics. You've already gotten a Golden Globe nomination. There's talk that this could be your first Oscar as well. And the similarity between you and Pope Francis, I mean, you practically look just like the man.
Well, the similarity has been talked about. In fact, the day he was made Pope, the internet was full of images of the two of us, Pope Francis and me, or Pope Francis and the High Sparrow. So it seemed kind of inevitable in a way, but I'd like to think that it was, it was more 47 years of work than just the fact that I looked like him got me the part.
Yes,
yeah.
I would imagine that had something to do with it.
Have you gotten any indication whether this could be on the radar at the Vatican itself?
Well, we were in Rome last week, and we had a screening to which members of the Vatican were invited, and they came, and I spoke to a few priests, the Archbishop, and a particular cardinal, Cardinal Turkson, who's a very close friend of Benedict's and a friend of Francis's. He said he loved the film, and he wanted to take a DVD to Francis so he could see it. Wow. Because he thought he'd like it. And I found that very moving, very touching.
Well, it's the ultimate stamp of approval, I would imagine. You play, of course, alongside Anthony Hopkins, who's also a fellow Welsh actor. Did you guys, I assume you knew each other before?
We'd met almost 30 years ago when we were both on a recording of Under Milk Wood, and he played first voice and I played second voice. And I got my revenge. 30 years later, we're on the call sheet. I'm number one, and he's number two.
Did you shoot this in chronological order? I read that. Is that true?
Well, these early scenes between the two of us there was a certain chronological order to them, and it kind of reflected our relationship. There's two men who were kind of skirting around each other, a bit wary of each other. And then they become great friends, and at the end of these scenes, they are tangoing together. And I've yet to tango with Tony, but we have become great friends, yeah.
You know, so many people, loved you in Game of Thrones. And is it true that you originally turned down the part of High Sparrow?
No, not High Sparrow. I turned down the whole series.
Really?
Yeah, it was to do the pilot. It's not something that appeals to me, this genre of filmmaking.
So what changed your mind?
Well, the role of the High Sparrow. And also, it had become this worldwide international hit without me, so I thought I'd better get in there quick.
You knew it was going to be a hit.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of this. Someone said that you were going to quit acting at 60.
Oh, I said that, yeah. When I was quite young, I thought 60 was an old age then. And, well, I haven't, and It's like I thought when I was young, when I gave up the church, when I was older, an old man, I would find religion and life would be a lot easier. And I'm 72 and I still haven't found it. But doing things like this, there's an air of spirituality about this film. And I learned a lot from making it. And in fact, when I was in Buenos Aires working with a Jesuit priest, who was very helpful, very kind gentleman. And then as I was leaving, he asked me, could he bless me? And I haven't been blessed since I was baptized as a baby, and it was quite an overwhelming experience.
Well, quite a blessing. This film, Jonathan Pryce, thank you so much. The Two Popes in select theaters now and on Netflix beginning on Friday.